Welcome back, everyone, to the Sporting Chance podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Mountain State Falconry Supply.com, your home for your micro hawking needs.
What's up, guys? If you're anything like me and you like braided equipment, leashes, jesses, there's no better place than MidnightFalconry.com. Richard Moats puts a lot of effort into the finest, tightest braids that money can buy.
Listen, folks, now's the time. Heck, it might even be too late. Check out North Mountain Goshawks to secure your hunting partner for, inshallah, next season, but possibly the season after. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Sporting Chance podcast. I'm your co-host, Aaron Kincaid.
And I'm Casey Everett.
We're taking it old school with that one.
Yeah.
And today it's just a solo episode. We just decided to hop on and discuss the issue at hand. But here's the kicker. Casey doesn't even know what the subject is.
I do not. This is true.
So
Getting
Casey,
blindsided here.
Casey, I want to talk to you today a little bit about imprinting goshawks.
Okay.
I'll kick things off with my experience with imprinting birds in general. So I imprinted a Cooper's hawk, a great horned owl, a tiercel finish goshawk, and I imprinted that Ural Mountain Buteoides that met an untimely end.
Yeah, you imprinted that bird. You went through most of it.
So I say all that by fully admitting that I'm not an authority on it, but I do have some experience, and I think I have some decent insights. But Casey has had much more experience doing it. Casey, run down your resume, if you will.
I mean, I don't think that it's.
No, there's no. Let's not be humble here. Let's just tell it like it is. How many?
Yeah, I can imprint the goshawk. Like I've done it, like whatever 8 times or something. Whatever. It's not like I know that I could get an imprint and turn it into, a decent bird, maybe exceptional or maybe less than exceptional with behavioral issues. Like I know, I still feel like I'm going to fail every time I've done it, but I know enough that I know I can get through it, and the bird's going to catch game. We're going to have a good time. But I'm by no means like an authority whatsoever on the topic. I don't think you really. I think you'd have to imprint probably like 30 birds in order to become like a legitimate authority on it.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, if you're not keeping track of what you've been doing, it's very easy for it to just like slip out of your mind, because I don't really write shit down. I don't write anything down. I'm not like taking notes like some guys do. So like I'm basically just like trying to remember, what did I do with that last bird? Like, I didn't do that, but I did this and it worked better, I think, if I remember. So it's all just kind of like by the seat of my pants, and it just usually works out just being in the field, basically. And some of my birds have, they mantle, they scream. Some of them don't mantle too bad. Some, it's like, I don't have it down to a science, but I know I can get an imprint and go catch game with it eventually. I know that. Mm-hmm. So that's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
And then, yeah. So whatever.
And you've witnessed a lot of goshawks get imprinted, and imprinted goshawks hunted as well by your community up there in the Jersey, New York area is a stronghold for goshawks in America in falconry.
Yeah, there's quite a few guys that,
you may not even realize that, but you go some other places and they're just not as commonly flown as they are up there.
I guess maybe I was for sure spoiled without even realizing it. I'm just, every weekend going out hawking with my sponsor and their buddies, and somebody had, we needed a baggie for somebody's bird that was with us, and we'd watch that bird get flown. Then Paul or Phil had a new bird, or 2 birds at the same time, Paul's bird and Phil's bird, that they were making and raising and entering. And so I saw a lot, but I didn't really have any interest in it. So I didn't necessarily keep too many notes other than just like what I remembered, them doing and stuff. But there was always goshawks around. Always. There's never a time where there was no goshawks around.
And as far as I know, I was one of the first people to have ever caught anything in North Carolina with a Goshawk.
Guys at Trailblazers, dude. Guys breaking
weird.
boundaries, man.
People just, they for some reason said you couldn't fly them down here.
Yeah, you also can't catch squirrels. You also can't hand feed. There's just
we know all this to be true.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to bring this subject up was we've had requests for it. We've had people reaching out, posting on social media. And speaking of social media, check out the Facebook page. We have reinvigorated that. We're trying to post more often, trying to get some conversations going. So if you don't follow us there, follow us on Facebook and check us out on YouTube. That's actually I'm going to say that's our preferred way for you guys to listen at this point. We are on the way to being monetized on there, and that's going to be nice because we got into this not, we didn't get into this for the money, that's for sure.
Yeah, obviously.
We didn't want to do a Patreon. We didn't want to do a buy me a coffee or anything like that. So our goal was to make money to keep the podcast running from merch, which also check out sportingchancepodcast.com for merch.
No, it's sportingchancepod.com.
Yeah, that's right. sportingchancepod.com for your merch. There's limited sizes left. We do the thing like we print the items that we're going to sell, and when they're gone, they're gone. So,
yeah.
Get them right.
It's very expensive to re-up orders, and it's like you're investing in keeping stock, but like if people aren't buying it consistently, or like the initial run is kind of like everyone kind of got what they wanted, then you're stuck with the shirts, and it's like literally thousands of dollars to buy more. So it's like, do we buy more? Or do we just like, first come, first serve? When we do a new drop, you just better get on the website and buy it because it's going to be sold. And that may be it.
I like the idea of things being kind of limited edition too.
Yeah.
Gives you a reason to purchase it.
Yeah. So basically we're almost at monetization status. We basically would be at monetization status if we had the correct amount of subscribers. We're just short the subscribers because we're not really pushing YouTube. I mean, we talked about it in the past, but we're not really pushing it. But if we get monetized, that doesn't mean you just like get rich or something, but it's a few extra dollars for us to, buy a hotel, to pay for a hotel room to go do an in-person documentary style interview with a cool guest that you would like to see, which we could film and put out on YouTube for you to watch.
Which we absolutely want to do. And we've had people reaching out about wanting more video content. And that's a whole can of worms right there to do. And that's something that we want to do, but it's not just a simple matter of, posting the video.
Yeah. It has to be done correctly. Yeah.
We are 125 subscriptions away from being monetized on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's it. 125. So if a fraction of the people that listen to this episode go and subscribe, we should be there.
Yeah,
we should be there. So please consider subscribing, even if you don't listen to us on YouTube.
Yeah. And it's not a charity subscription because we spoke to an editor. If any of the listeners know any editors, because it's impossible. I try to edit my personal NJ Falconer YouTube channel, like long form videos. I mean, those videos take legitimately, I'm not even joking, take 50 hours to edit a 22-minute video. I'm not even joking. That's how slow I am in editing. It's such a different process and takes forever. So we're to the point where we might just start paying somebody to just edit we have, what is it? I mean, we have hours and hours and hours.
Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours of field meat footage in the bank. Aaron pulling squirrels out of holes with his bare hand, me catching rabbits while they're running with my hand. Daryl catching rabbit, Daryl Perkins catching rabbit with a Siberian, random people in the field, crazy, like viral footage, but like it's so much footage and we're not like professional YouTubers. So we don't know like do we dump it all in one video? Should we cut some stuff out? So that's why we're thinking about maybe just investing, at least in the meantime, into a semi, decent editor that could give us some insight, and then we pay him, God knows how much to edit, a 30-minute video. But so it's not it's not charity. Like, you're going to start, we have so much footage, like we have to do something with it. So we're going to have some pretty awesome videos coming out throughout the summer and stuff like that you're definitely going to enjoy, for sure.
I think we should do a giveaway of some sort as well once we hit our sub mark. So if you guys are interested in that, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll figure out some sort of fun giveaway prize thing.
I'm down.
Once we hit that mark, it'll maybe your choice of Casey's Goshawks.
Yeah, because I got too many. Yeah, I have too many.
So the topic at hand: imprinting Goshawks. You
didn't even tell me anything. Like, I couldn't prepare and put my thoughts together. Like, you're just springing it on me. And you know what? And it's funny, Aaron, because it doesn't even matter if I pondered and sat outside under a tree and thought about it. Doesn't matter, because the people that are listening right now, great, but I'm still going to get messages, in the middle of the winter. Oh man, and I'm going to say, oh, okay, well, we talked about it on 4 episodes in a row, I don't think I'm an expert, but we give out really sound advice, and we have really good guests on. Like, we did a full imprinting video episode, with Tyler Sladen, where he broke down everything he does with his birds. We've done episodes where I break down everything I do with my birds. Other guests, Steve Lehman. I did this with my bird. Love the show, man, by the way. But yeah, my bird is... Okay, so you definitely didn't listen to the 4 episodes on imprinting. I have a dachshund, and I'm trying to get him on rabbits. I don't know where... Yeah, Dachshunds and Falconry 101. It's our first episode. Literally, Teddy Moritz listened to it, and she said that it was exactly what she does with her dachshunds, and it was spot on.
We have video evidence of that.
We have video evidence of Teddy saying that, but you know what I mean? So I'm not saying you got to go and listen to every single episode. I'm just saying if you subscribe, there's little, not saying it's coming from us necessarily, but there's nuggets of wisdom, in the shows, and you can really get a lot out of it, and stuff that I had to learn on my own. Aaron had to learn on his own.
The hard way,
or begging people.
And we're just giving it to you for free.
Yeah, we're not not doing a buy me a coffee thing so you can get the info, or making a very whatever. I'm just going to stop right there. So I was going to say something rude about somebody, and everybody will know what I'm talking about.
Well, what I find interesting about this is you'll see do you ever look at r/falconry on Reddit?
No, I don't really go on Reddit too often.
It's mostly people in North Carolina wanting to get into falconry, is what it seems like it is. There will be people who ask questions about, has anybody ever flown an owl for falconry? And I don't know that I've ever seen anybody say this on there, but you want to say there are several Sporting Chance episodes about flying owls and falconry. And one of the hosts successfully flew a great horned owl in falconry. Yeah,
exactly. And we had another guy on that does it he's done it with 3 different owls, and has actual video evidence. And same with Tyler Wright.
Yeah,
he's he has video evidence of catching squirrels with a great horned owl in the trees and stuff. And it's
Adam Noggle was the first guy who has ever really. I think he trailblazed it.
He trailblazed it in terms of the footage.
Boy.
He's a bad boy. That'll never not be funny. That needs to be framed. Anyway, it's an inside joke about Adam, and it's not our place to put it out, but it's hysterical. If we put it out, you would die. It's the funniest thing ever. It's hilarious.
So yeah, there's multiple episodes about flying great horned owls and falconry. There's so much out there. At this point, it's kind of surreal. We're in 3 seasons, an episode every single week
without fail. We've never missed an episode.
Yeah, and we just hit the 3-year mark. We're in season 3 now.
That's crazy, dude.
That's stuff. Crazy. So a lot of this stuff may have been discussed before, but we're just going to kind of riff on imprinting right now. Okay. So last year, I had a captive born bird from Mark Moglich. Wonderful guy, wonderful breeder. Casey had a wild taken Ias that he imprinted as well. Two very different experiences, to say the least.
Say the least. Oh my God.
About like every step of the way, a totally different experience. So the European birds, I think it's safe to say that they are just generally a more calm bird.
If you're getting your first goshawk and you flew a couple red tails, you maybe got a coops and like, I want a goshawk now. Get a female, unless you live out west where you can put like quail slips and chucker and like there's pheasants around or even rabbits. If you can put like 1 million slips a day in front of a bird, then get a tiercel. But if you live anywhere where you like need dogs to get slips, get a big female, not even big, actually, it doesn't even matter. Just get a female European goshawk from a reputable breeder. You know, our
when we
boys
say European, that's either an albitus, like a white Russian bird, or
there's hundreds of European different subspecies.
Yeah. So any of those, basically any commercially available goshawk other than a North American.
Yeah, if it's North American, they are by far and away more athletic, more maneuverable, more flashy females and males than the European birds. But the temperament is a little bit tricky to deal with if you're new to dealing with them. It's the difference between a Cooper's hawk. In my opinion, I've never flown a Cooper's. Oh, I dealt with a couple, but the difference in personality is as drastic as a Cooper's hawk to a goshawk, and it's that drastic. So a female North American compared to a female European is literally that drastic of a difference. You're going from a Cooper's hawk type of, maybe not the aggression's always there regardless. I mean, there's still aggression, but Cooper's hawks are to another level, just in terms of the skittishness, the attention to detail, the making mistakes and being punished for it, or letting stuff go and just kind of moving past it. The European birds are a night and day difference from the North American. And I've said that a million times.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
I don't know
that's just a fact.
I would disagree with you on that one.
No, that's just a fact of reality. It's a bird. It's basically once you get past, the first year and the bird's caught, a couple head of game, or, you had a really good season or whatever. The next season, the bird is basically just a red tail, just a very fast, explosive, red tail. That's literally what it becomes. It's just the first season where you got to really just pay attention with any goshawk or any bird. It's an imprint.
Mm-hmm.
They have a tendency. It's more dangerous. Arguably, it's more dangerous to imprint the harrowshawk or a red tail than it is a goshawk. Arguably,
seems like sense to me.
It just seems like
has a little bit of that innate fear of human beings that
exactly
those birds don't.
Exactly. Harrowshawks have like no fear to begin with, and they have no problem just grabbing somebody in the face or something. I've heard horror stories. Like if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
Like goshawks will do that too, but you kind of have to like really do stupid stuff to get the bird to just like bind to someone's face for no reason, or your face. You flush a rabbit and you think it just goes for your face instead of the rabbit.
My concern is always like the random person walking down the road, not me.
Oh, no,
I could deal with getting grabbed on the face, but I really don't want some random person getting grabbed by the face and then having to call the cops or whatever, or stomping my bird into the ground. Who knows?
Or their dog or something, or their kid, God forbid.
Yeah, the kid. That's the scariest one. So, with all that being said, different ways you can get a bird. If you get a bird from the wild and it's pulled late, you're going to deal with some fear issues like Casey has. But we're just kind of going to, I think your average person, it's safe to say, is getting a bird purchased, a bird bred in captivity. And you're really being set up for success with that right then and there out of the gate.
You are, yeah, but it also depends on where you get it from.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. You want to get it from somebody who's going to pay, close attention to the way the bird is handled before you get it, because most of these guys will not ship a bird unless it's 2 weeks old, and the bird can be, lot can happen in 2 weeks. So
yeah.
Listen, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I mean, I've gotten birds that were pretty skittish when I got them from the breeder, and I'm not sure if it was just the bird's personality, which it definitely could have been, or if it was just somebody was way too busy to like invest time into the bird. And then I've gotten other birds from breeders where the bird was like just sweet as could be from the second I got it at 2 weeks old, and and that it varies. So it obviously it's hard to pinpoint what it is. But yeah, you're going to get it from a breeder more than likely. You're going to, if it's your first goshawk or you're new to goshawks, you're going to get a European bird. If you want to be a hero and get a North American, get one. I mean, they've been doing it, and we've been doing it here.
Not that many people are even selling North American birds right now.
A couple people are. I mean, you could get them if you want.
I think the majority are European.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to get your hands on a quotation marks, huge quotation marks, fin. Which basically just means it could be any type of European bird, and genetics cross and jumble together. And there's only a few people in the United States that have like a clear, lineage of their birds, which doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Tri-bred, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I would definitely not pay full price for a tri-bred. Just going to say that right now.
No, you're basically getting a mutt.
I mean, if you're getting a cross, you're basically getting a mutt, but it's, I'm not going to pay like $3,000 for a bird that's like just a bunch of different things thrown into one. And it's like, here's your bird, man. It's like, all right. I mean, it's still a goshawk is a goshawk at the end of the day. So it's valuable. And the fact that you can pull out money and get one is insane, because you literally could not do that. Like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, you couldn't not do that unless you had big money to spend. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you can get like a Tirso for like $1,800, or even a female. I mean, it is kind of crazy, because you could get like a big giant white, maybe not a pure Siberian, but a big giant white goshawk female for like $2,500, $3,000. It's crazy. It actually is crazy.
Yeah, they've come down quite a bit in price.
Yeah, which is good for us, but it's bad for the breeders, because if they're not making money, it's just a matter of time before they're like, this is a lot of freaking work. And I pray that doesn't happen, because then it's going to go back. It's just going to, if breeders get out of it and the market gets cornered by a couple of breeders, then you're going to be, the prices are going to creep up. Now you're going to go from 25, 3,000 to like 5,000. Who's going to spend 5,000 on a bird? Somebody will.
People definitely will, myself included.
I will not.
I don't want to anymore. I'm not planning on doing that ever again. If I had it my way, I never would buy another bird, but I would like another European bird. So I'm gonna.
I think you need to get another big white one and see it through, because it was shaping up to be a very good situation for you. That bird was coming along nice. She was sweet. She was calm. Granted, you just started the hack, so it wasn't, but she was all the videos, everything you were telling me, she really looked like you did a really nice job getting her acclimated and calm. And
so for those of you who are not aware, this bird that Casey's bragging on right now, she was on hack, which even though this happened to me, I still am a believer in the hack. She was on hack. She was doing great. She was super docile, raised in the house. Just good bird, raised around dogs. One day, Casey, I walked out and I heard like a rapid like thumping sound on the hardwood floor. I come out and she has got one of my dogs pinned down on the ground, like, and has the dog by the nose, like holding it tight on the nose, and the other was like on its body. And the dog's laying there wagging its tail on the ground. The dog's like pinned down on its side, thumping its tail on the ground.
Yeah, she was just playing with it.
Things were going really well. And then the last day of hack, because the next day was the start of dove season. And I thought to myself, I probably ought to get this bird back before dove season starts.
Smart.
So the last day of the hack, well, actually I think there would have been one more day after this. She was killed by a wild raptor on hack, probably a red tail, possibly a bald eagle. But it was an absolute tragedy.
It was. Yeah, it was terrible. But
so
it's part of the game.
And I mean, Adam, of all people, Adam Noggle said this, Casey. He said, hacking a bird.
Boy.
The bad boy, Adam Noggle. He said, it's all benefits with one huge potential risk.
It's true.
Like hacking a bird is the growth that you see, the mental growth, the maturity, the physical, the physical growth, as far as their strength, their flying ability. It's just tremendous. It happens so quickly on hack. It's incredible to watch.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to replicate that just from the glove, entering the bird day after day after day, all late summer and early fall. And like, if you just hack the bird, you're like, the bird's getting all that potential, all that exercise, all that flight time while you're at home hanging out with the family. And then you just go and pick them up at the end of the day. It's a really beneficial thing for sure. But there's just one big risk.
One huge risk. Everything else is a benefit.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning of, after you've got your bird feeding. I keep food. I want them not to know hunger for a second when I'm imprinting them at first.
Mm-hmm.
I keep food in their nest bowl all the time. And I want them eating on their own as quickly as possible. So what I like to do, and it's not groundbreaking. It's none of the stuff that we're saying, we're pretending like we made it, that we came up with it. Okay. Let's clear that up right now.
Yeah. It's all in books. It's all in, it's just.
Yeah. We've been taught this. We've heard this, so we're reiterating what's worked for us. Is you take the actual prey item and you mince up food and you lay it inside of it. So like if you're planning on hunting gray squirrels, open up a gray squirrel, pull all the meat out, chop it all up into little pieces, and then use the body of the squirrel as like a serving bowl, basically. Lay it there.
Yeah.
Early on. And then as the bird gets stronger and develops more, you can, help it a little bit by cutting into it and maybe cutting some bigger chunks up and laying it in there. But eventually you want the bird to be able to kind of just break into this stuff on its own. But the most important point being that I learned is that don't let the bird know hunger in the beginning. Just always food all the time. Even if you're throwing food away, it'll feel wasteful. It's expensive, but it's necessary.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah. Some guys do the hand feeding thing. I still think that they don't really allow too much hunger to be in there. You basically don't want the bird to like be getting vocal or animated out of any type of need for being fed, because then it just becomes, it will just spiral into a screaming mess.
Yeah, and that's the idea behind what I'm doing. I think what I think we should talk about is like the more conventional way. We just had the episode with Layman. If you want to talk about hand feeding that, but we're going to talk more of like the more conventional way,
the safe way,
the safe way. More it's more of a beginner's method, I'd say. Like the hand feeding is more advanced, definitely. So to what Casey was saying is that I don't want to walk in and the bird is hungry and looking at me and jumping up and down and, wanting food. Like I don't want to reinforce that by feeding it. I don't ever want it to be in that state.
Correct. And you don't want to wait for that situation, because then you have to do a bunch of like magic tricks to like get the food to the bird without directly handing the food to the bird. Cause you're not like, that's not, that's like a no, when like traditionally speaking, right? Like you don't want the bird to ever see you giving it food. You don't want that association. I mean, I feel like there's always an association no matter how you slice it, but, you basically just want to be able to like have food there all the time and be able to swap the food out, constantly. And
I think when you've always got the food there, it's not a big deal if the bird sees you bringing food.
That's true. Yeah, that's true, because it's just there.
It's always there. It's not even noteworthy because there's always chopped up quail sitting there. So
yeah,
but I do think. Yeah. I'm sorry, Casey. I do think, to your point though, you do try and, I just call it ninja. You ninja the food in there when the bird's not looking. The bird's attention is elsewhere, and that's when you swap the food out or something like that.
Yeah, they're sleeping. What I do is I just keep I think this works best personally for me is I have, you have your goshawk in your nest bowl and you have pine, or I just do like old work t-shirts that like I can't wear in customers' houses because they look unprofessional. I just save those and I just put, you never want anything flat. You want it to be kind of like roughed up so that it's uneven. It's good for their bones. You want a little bit resistance on the backside of their tarsus and their legs. It's healthy for the stimulation. You don't want it to just like, you don't want them just like on a flat, static countertop or hard area. You want them to kind of have a little like where they can move and find a comfortable spot to sit. And I just basically have 2 of everything. So if you have like a big clear tub to catch the slices with the bird in the nest bowl inside of that, I have the same exact setup in another tub. And then what I do is I just have, my frozen, I do always a frozen carcass, rabbit, squirrel, pheasant, duck, whatever you're planning to hunt. And that's frozen. That's just like, and I have a couple of those, like they're frozen, like in like a position where like you can easily just place the food like in the chest cavity so that they can see it. So I got your quail chopped up. And then when it's time to feed the bird or the food's getting kind of disgusting, it's been out there all morning or all afternoon and it's getting kind of nasty. The flies are around it and it's drying out and getting gross.
Casey's got a big fly problem in his house.
I actually do. It's not even, it's really annoying. They come in like, it's so annoying. The neighbor's got like the pigs in his barn and there's flies everywhere.
I was just joking, but yeah.
It's not even a joke, dude. It's true.
I have a fly on his face right now.
Yeah, right up my nose laying fucking
It's like
maggots.
a Ren and Stimpy cartoon. It zooms in and it's just like little pores and hairs.
Disgusting. All right. So I just take the bird from one nest bowl and it only takes like by the time you get the bird 2 weeks and then, second, third week, third week, fourth week, the bird can kind of like walk around and maneuver itself. So I just pick up the nest bowl and like kind of like slide it down into the next nest bowl setup with the food already in there. So it has food in its nest bowl now. And I want to upgrade the food. So I'll just kind of like coax the bird very gently into the other nest bowl. And then I could take that nest bowl, clean it, dump the food out, whatever, get everything ready for the next swap out. And that's like the best way to do it. Or have a nest bowl in a weathering area outside. And then you could carry the whole nest bowl and just put it next to the other nest bowl. And then the bird, if you do it right, they're not hungry. So they're not like trying to get into the other nest bowl. They're just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And then like it's just kind of like a swapping, rotating, moving around thing.
Yeah.
So that there's no connection. And then, the frozen carcass that's in the first nest bowl from the morning, that frozen carcass is almost thawed, but it's still cold. Now that I'll slide back in my freezer to refreeze and then to get regarnished for later in the day or the next day. So it's just, you're trying to, because you don't want to waste too many carcasses.
No, it's going to be inevitable when you're raising a bird, but
yeah.
So you bring up a good point, or the next subject is they really do not like being picked up.
No,
it's uncomfortable to them. They don't understand it. So you always try to gently coax them into another container if you need to get them back in their nest bowl, or if you need to transfer nest bowls. You just kind of scoot them into it or kind of tilt the container a little bit. You don't want to make them uncomfortable. They really do not like being picked up when they're very young. So trying to avoid the temptation of picking your birds up.
Yeah. And if you have to pick up your bird, you just slide both hands, 2 hands underneath and make sure that you get the backside of the tarsus, both of them firmly resting on each one of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like grabbing it. It's not like, it's not a Harris hawk. You can't just like, grab it and pick it up and move it around and it will get over it. It could instill some sort of a fear of the hand and stuff like that. You don't want that.
We've seen goshawks that are afraid of the glove, afraid of your hand. And that's a great way to make them afraid of your hand is by picking them up and making them scared.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's not like a puppy. They don't deal with it and get over it.
No.
Sometimes they can.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they'll eventually get over it, but you don't want to risk it. So no picking up. Don't bring them food. I know guys that do cat feeders like on a timer where it pops open or drops food out. You could have a bowl of food in the morning before you go to work, and then everything's frozen solid and the timer is set to go off 3 hours later and drop new food in there while you're at work or whatever. Or you could have your wife or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, your domestic partner, whatever
your partner. Yeah.
Partner.
Yeah. It's just, all that's important. The stuff you're doing early on is important. As far as taking it out places to see things, me and Casey are not believers in that early on.
I think that it doesn't hurt. I don't think that it hurts, but I don't think that that's my personal opinion is that from like Steve always talks about the natural history of a bird and the, breaking down like, their psyche, in the wild, it would be a static, for the most part, it would be a static environment in the nest. There wouldn't be much change. So from a wild natural history standpoint, the bird's stimulation and getting used to things, that would all happen during like the branching, hacking stage. That's my opinion. Because, and this, I ran this by a couple different goshawkers and they agreed with me 100% that you could go to you could do the Home Depot thing. You could do the, rides in the car. You could do this, you could do that. As soon as that bird hard pens or is right about to hard pen or that whole phase of dispersal, it's almost like you have to do it all over again for some reason. It's like you have to and I think that if you do it a little bit in the beginning, the car rides, the stimulation, your kids run around, your friends around, people, exposure, I don't think it hurts at all. But just understand that you may still have to like force that issue later as you're entering the bird or during like the hacking phase. And then there is a dispersal phase where they have kind of like this innate, especially the Tiercels have like this innate instinct to just like get out of there. Mm-hmm. So like they're your best buddy. And then as soon as they like are hard penning and like they like almost like their eyes glaze over and like everything freaks them out. And there's guys that they will put their bird in the mew for that dispersal phase and just leave them alone until they get like they cut. A lot of people, I think, what is it, Aaron? Like the blood pressure or something during like when the feathers hard pen and the blood recedes back into the body, it spikes the blood pressure and they get all like amped up and crazy. Like so there's like a whole theory with that's why that's happening. Then some people say it's the dispersal. Either way, every imprint that I've ever raised, which is, not that many, but, probably like, I think like 7 or 8 I've raised, if I'm not mistaken. They all kind of go through that. So like you're taking them everywhere. You're going here, you're going there. I used to bring like a little pop-up thing at my job sites and a rough construction site. Obviously there's no dust. You can't have that. But like I would literally put them in the corner of like the living room of like a framed house with like people walking around, and they'd be in there just watching people walk around. And it, it's the same thing. Then as soon as the bird hard pens, as soon as like the dispersal phase kicks in, like they don't want to go in the box. They don't want to, everything's like a huge issue, regardless.
I think that, I don't think I know. I did my last bird that I did not take her anywhere. Like she rode in the car with me early on, but I didn't take her out in public. The car thing, I've seen birds get asper and die like stress from being in a car. Yeah. You hear a lot about people like on big road trips or something with their goshawk will get sick. So my thought was like, I want her to always be used to a car.
Yes.
So she did stay in the car all the time. I did do that. But otherwise, she just saw friends and family and dogs inside my house. I didn't take her out in public anywhere.
That's all you need.
And she was totally docile with any stranger. It was not a big deal to her. So I think you're absolutely right. You can take the bird out in public if you really want to. for fun. I mean, I get the appeal. You want to take the cute baby bird out and show people. I understand.
I don't. Sounds like a nightmare.
It sounds like a nightmare to me, but I can get how someone would want to do it. Like, I don't want the attention anymore with falconry.
Yeah.
But there certainly was a time where I did enjoy the attention. So
I never, ever, ever felt like that.
Well, a lot of people do.
I like the attention from I thought it was so cool. I wanted all my friends and, people to.
Well, there you go.
And they never thought it was cool. But I was like, if I was in the field with my red tail and somebody was like, oh, cool bird. I was like, yeah, definitely. And I would just keep walking.
Yeah.
Or I would literally pretend like the bird would land over my head in a park and somebody would be walking their dog and they'd be like, wow. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. And I would just keep walking.
So with all that being said, I get why people want to do it. And I guess you can do it, but I definitely do not think it's necessary. And if anything,
it could be detrimental.
It could be, yeah, because something could happen there. Something really scary could happen while you're out. People could reach their hand in and touch your bird and scare your bird. Yeah. So I like to raise a bird in a more controlled environment. And then when they're in that branching stage, that's when you can start really getting them out there.
100%, because that's when in the wild, that's when they would be forced to get used to everything.
Exactly. From a biological standpoint, when they're in a nest, that's their world, is the nest.
Yep.
They're not seeing anything other than the food that their parents are bringing them.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, a juvenile red tail sitting next to a highway waiting for mice. They just get used to it. Like they just get over it. You know what I mean? But they're not, unless their nest is directly next to a highway. You know what I mean? Which is, it's possible and it is common, but the way red tails sit on the side of roads, not every red tail nest is next to a road or a highway, but they all seem to congregate on the side of the roads and highways looking for mice, and rabbits in those little strips. And they just get used to it. So, and I was kind of like, why is this bird, why is it taking me a half an hour to get this bird in the box to go to the field when it was raised in the box, in my house, around people, all over. And now all of a sudden it's terrified. And it's the dispersal phase. So you have to just be aware of the stages that are coming. And some birds are different. Like I said, the European birds, they are a lot calmer to begin with. So you're dealing with less of that. And on that same note, Aaron, when I went on vacation with Betsy, my North American, we drove 4.5 hours to the Adirondacks, stayed up there and came back. I noticed weeks and weeks later that she had a wicked stress mark going across her entire tail. And when I went back and looked, because I had crazy footage, I made a full in-depth imprinting video about that on YouTube. I went back and looked at the footage of where the bars were, and she got that stress mark either on the ride up there or on the ride back.
Interesting.
It literally appeared there. And the stress mark is not from lack of food. It's from lack of food and stress.
So for those of you out there listening who are not aware of that, a bird's feathers are growing, for the sake of our discussion and as an imprint bird, when its feathers are growing, if they experience a lack of food, I say that because now I think I don't know that people really know this for sure, but it's what we believe is a lack of food or a stressful experience will put a fret mark on the feather.
Yeah.
That indicates a stressful time in the bird's life. So prior to that, were you taking her on car rides, Casey?
I was doing stuff with her, but not like that. And I remember the whole ride up there, she was not enjoying it. She was not enjoying it. She was kind of peeping and bouncing around. I had those pop up little screened in things, like the pet carrier thing. She was jumping around in there. Then she'd sit calmly. Then she'd get all fidgety. And I remember I just kept looking in the rearview mirror and I'm like, what? Oh no, this is not good. Why? I was not happy about it.
But nothing you could do at that point.
Yeah, that was it. I didn't bring I brought the box, but I didn't think I should have maybe I should just put the whole thing in the box and just left her in the box. But I bring my birds to work. So that's another thing is a lot of my birds, and especially the European birds, they're being loaded up into the truck, at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning before I go to work. and I'm going to work with dogs and birds in their boxes, and the birds and dogs, the dogs, obviously I let out and let them pee and stuff. And the birds, sometimes I'll take them out, whatever, but they're good in the box. But like a lot of my birds were just like, they're just, the box is like their place. They sleep every night in their nest bowl. Then they're eating out of there. It's like their little house. And like they'll fly. I have videos of them flying 10 feet, when we're about to go hawking, flying 10 feet to go straight in the box. And then they're like they're going crazy, like all riled up because they know like we're going, like they need to get the energy out. So it's really important. That's a pro tip that you should. And that was from Paul Lee who gave me that. So I have to give him credit because that was like life changing. Bird sleeps every night in its box, every night in the box. It doesn't know anything different. Like its box is where it sleeps. And you'll just get a bird that's just like, whatever. This is my box.
I used to be a fan of those green metal hawk boxes from Mike's Falconry.
Yeah.
They're cool, but they don't have the dimensions I'm looking for anymore. I think they're fine for like a Harris hawk. They're not wide enough for a red tail. And just in general with a Goshawk, I like a bigger box.
And they're like $400.
Yeah. Ben Shelton, Rabid Hawking on Instagram. You can, I follow him. You can search my followers and people I follow to see his stuff. He's making custom boxes, really, really nice ones. He made a really nice one for me for my Goshawk last year. And that box was a very important training tool for me.
Yeah.
So your bird's branching, you're taking it out. This is what I did as far as the hack was concerned. And I really don't want people to be deterred by my experience from the hack because I'm going to do it again the next bird I get. It's too beneficial to give up. So this was my first time ever hacking a bird. I had a lot to learn and I'm by no means an expert. One concern I had was like how am I going to even get the bird back? Because I was always keeping food in front of her and I was always keeping her hungry. Or I'm sorry, I was always keeping her completely satiated at all times. And that was the point that I had to stop with the constant food. Was when I wanted to let her out on hack. But it's a fine line to walk because you don't want them starving. You don't want them doing stupid, desperate things. But you want them to have hunger so they have some motivation to come down to you.
Mm-hmm.
So with Casey and Phil and Paul's guidance, one thing I had to start doing before hacking was I had to start weathering her outside because she was inside all the time, right? So I had to put her out in a chamber. And I kind of started the hack in that chamber, if you want to call it that.
The branching. You started like a branching phase.
Right. There we go. Yeah. A branching phase inside the chamber to where I started reducing the food that she ate. She still ate a surplus of calories, but she did not have that food access to it all day. So I would put her out there in the morning and then I would start feeding her in the evening when I got home.
How were you feeding her when you got home?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't quite remember that, but that is definitely, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When you don't write it down, you'll be surprised. You forget what you did.
I definitely did not like
open
serve
up the door
her
and
food.
just like throw food in and
yeah,
run out.
Because that's exactly like I said earlier. You don't want that because I come home, she's excited to see me, and she's going crazy and jumping around for food. I don't give her food because I think the next thing that comes with that is aggression.
Oh yeah, of course.
So I don't do that. And I don't quite remember what I would do. I think I would wait till she was distracted and I would sneak food in, or I would have somebody help me with it.
Yeah, like Courtney start dancing around in the corner, like juggling, and then
yeah,
Bird's like, wow. And then like,
something.
Put food down.
Yeah, something. It'd be really techie. It'd be like to have like a little door you open and like a little Caturnix quail walks in.
Yeah, I mean techie. You just put a little hatch, little door with like a little pulley on it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny though?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Actually, that's great
too.
Idea.
You could do that. Oh yeah, you could. Yeah, during that phase, that's a good phase if you're a believer in baggies and stuff. I mean, it's not 100% necessary, but like, you could you could put a quail in there in at dark, the night before, and then in the morning the bird will see it and jump down, either be terrified of it, which is also that happens, or just immediately jump down and kill it and then eat. What I would do in that kind of a situation when I switch to one time feed, like one a day feedings, like you just switch from food all the time to one feeding per day. And if the feeding was in the evening, or if I knew I was going to be working late or something like that, I would either put like a frozen block of chopped up food in there like the night before as late as possible, so that in the morning it would be thawed and it had nothing to do with me. Or I would get home from work, show the bird myself the second I got home from work, meaning I spend time with the bird, go out in the chamber, sit there. She could be acting a little excited or whatever, like, kind of like, because it's funny because they go from eating, nonstop to one time per day. And it's like they act like they're like starving to death because they're switching from one feeding.
And they're still gaining weight.
They're still fat as a pig. And, they just want to eat. And if that gets too bad, if that gets like to be like a problem, there's nothing wrong with feeding a little bit in the morning and then, a big meal in the evening. Like you don't have to starve the bird or be very strict with it. If you're noticing your bird's a little too animated in the afternoon, then maybe sneak in a little bit of food in the dark before work in the morning or the night before frozen. Or if you have a chute or something like that where you can slide the food in where the bird has no idea of it and it just kind of falls out of the sky, you could do something like that just to satiate them. But you'd be surprised for a female goshawk what one quail leg will do to a female goshawk if you feed it in the morning. And I learned that the hard way.
Tell us more about that.
Well, I want to talk through the daily operations of when you get home from work and you have a bird in a chamber branching.
Yeah,
that's very important. We can get to when my bird just slept out for one night, which was nerve-wracking.
So you want to sneak the bird food. So you want to transition from constant food to one meal a day. And like Guide said, like Casey said, we're not concerned about cutting weight. We just don't. You have to acclimate them to feeling hunger.
You're never. If you follow what I feel is the correct protocol. A lot of like goshawker guys are like sitting up in their seat, like getting like all like, what's he about to say? You controlling the weight is like that doesn't happen. That doesn't really even come into play until like November,
much later,
October.
Yeah, much later.
What the goal is, and this is also, and it is, you are controlling the weight, but you're not the weight control is not the idea until like you're fine tuning the performance of the bird. Then the weight kind of comes into play. But really, what you're doing is you're increasing the hunger. So like your bird could, I don't want to jump ahead to like missing slips and doing stuff like that. But
well, then don't.
No, I'm not going to. What I would do is I'd get home from work, right? Didn't see the bird all day. I would immediately go out to the bird, communicate with the bird, sit with the bird, hang out, put water in the pan, touch his feet. Then I'd go inside, whatever, see the family. Or the family, we'd go and look at the bird together. And then I would set up a carcass in the yard or a bowl of food. But I just think a bowl of food is just so like low effort. So I would always just do like a carcass. So it was a frozen carcass and you tie, a quail carcass onto it or whatever. Or your lure. Some people like doing the lure. I just want my bird to be fixated on quarry. So I don't really deal with the lure. The lure it's the easiest thing on the face of the earth to get any bird to come back to. So there's really no need to like have a lure in the nest bowl with your bird other than for a cool picture for Instagram. It literally does nothing. I mean, you could train a passage red tail to a lure in like 15, 2 tries. They'll put it together really quickly. So when the bird was hungry, right, I didn't play like a game where like I tried to hide it and this and that. I would go in and I would just communicate with the bird, get the bird to step up on the fist. I'd encourage my son to come out and ride around his little tractor, his little electric tractor. Bird's on the fist, but bird's amped up. And I just walk around the yard. I'd go for a little stroll around the yard. I'd walk around over here. I'd look at the flowers. I'd walk over there by the pond. I'd walk over here, and then I would kind of turn turn an area, but around a tree, and then there'd be just a dead rabbit laying on the ground with food on it. Or if I was smart enough to defrost it before work, then it'd be an actual, defrosted rabbit laying there. And the bird would immediately see it and jump down and grab it and start plucking it. And then the bird's on a long leash or a creance, of course. And I would just let the bird jump down and start eating it. And I would sit there. I'd let it eat as much as it wanted. And then I would sit on the ground next to the bird, giving her space. And then I would basically just wait for the bird to want to hop up to my glove. And some birds that it could take an hour. Some birds could take 15 minutes. I never like to just pick the bird up, but I mean, sometimes you have to do that. Some guys will put a perch there. Jason Norman he'd actually bring like a foldable, collapsible, like perch in his bag in the field early on. And when you'd catch a rabbit, instead of like, just, how you gotta just like, gotta pick them up, or like, it's kind of like, because they don't want to just jump back up onto the glove. That's kind of like another little thing where they act like they don't like the glove. Some birds like the glove. Maybe it's probably user error. But if you just set the perch next to the bird while it's eating off of what it caught, or the baggie or the carcass drag, instead of this awkward, uncomfortable interaction with the bird at the end of its feeding, where it doesn't really have much interest in anything and just wants to be kind of left alone, even as an imprint, you can just put the perch there, and that's like, oh, that's my perch. And the bird will just jump up on the perch. Then you can offer it your glove. 9 times out of 10, they'll just step up to the glove or roll them back. And then you walk back to the truck. And so that's what I would do if I didn't have time to like go to the field or put the bird in the car. But then eventually it would progress to getting home from work, showing myself to the bird, going inside, spending time with the family, putting my son in the car, walking the bird, putting her in the box or letting her jump into the box. And sometimes this was just like a very smooth transition, or sometimes it was a little bit like, kind of like a little sketchy where she didn't really want to go in. But if you raise the bird in the box, it's a lot easier to get him in the box. And then you would go to the field and then do the walking and carcass thing in the field. If you didn't want to hack the bird that day or whatever. And then this just instills in the bird like a routine. Walk on the glove, go into the box, go on a car drive, and then sit on the glove, and then food appears. And then it's kind of like they get into a rhythm. And there's nothing better than a goshawk in a good rhythm. If your goshawk's in a good rhythm, it's going to expect everything to happen. It's going to understand what's going on. It's going to understand the game plan, and it's going to want to do what you need it to do.
Rhythm is a dancer.
Yeah.
It's a soul's companion. You can feel it everywhere.
So stupid.
So
that's what I did. If I didn't feel comfortable hacking the bird while I was an hour and a half away on a job site and my wife was there, who has no idea what the heck's going on, I would just leave the bird in a chamber, lots of perching, flying around. And then I would just do it that way. I think I kind of beat
and
it.
that's like I found that to be a good step towards hacking.
Right. That's early on.
Yeah. So then when you feel confident that you can take your bird out, and I guess you'll never feel totally confident. It's always going to be a little scary to hack the bird. You want to find a safe place. Granted, when I was hacking my bird, I asked the question about red tails, and I was told that red tails will leave your bird alone.
I don't understand. I just don't.
Here's the problem, though: is there's red tails. If you're in America, red tails are everywhere. Every inch of land is red tail territory.
Pretty much.
That's a fact. You're not going to find somewhere that red tails don't inhabit. So the idea that you really have to worry about red tails is that really sucks if red tails are eating birds. But the good news is no one else that I've talked to has had that experience. The only bird of prey that you usually have to worry about with your goshawk is an owl, and that's usually only if the goshawk stays out at night. So as long as you're getting your goshawk back, well before it gets dark, you shouldn't have any problems. And let me say this again, I'm going to hack another bird. So with all that being said, you need to find a safe hack site. I think humans are probably the biggest danger in hacking. If your bird flies over and it's, checking out somebody and, people do stupid things. People get a shovel and kill a bird because they're afraid of it. Or maybe it goes after chickens, or it acts curious about their dog or something. and they do something stupid and kill your bird. That's possible.
Yeah, or this happened to a friend of mine, or they grab it, stuff it in a box, and drive to the raptor center and drop it off.
Yeah, then they've just traumatized your poor bird.
Which is a true story.
Yeah. So when you get your bird out, you find a safe place to hack it. There's a couple things that I did as precaution. I had Rabbit Hawking, my friend Ben Shelton. He made some leather jesses for me that had my phone number laser engraved on them. So if the bird was found, somebody would see those and they could call me.
Mm-hmm.
I also had GPS on the bird and radio telemetry on the bird. I don't remember if I had bells on her. I guess I did. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Would you put bells on a bird on hack?
Oh yeah. I put the bells on as soon as the bird, like as soon as I'm putting gear on the bird, I put bells on just so they get used to them, and it's not like they're pulling on them later and getting you just.
Can't remember if I did or not. It would make sense to, because it's an added measure of security in finding your bird.
Yeah, and the tag is a really good idea, because anything can happen. Even a bird watcher who wants to say, oh, there's a lost bird or something, if there's a tag on it with their binoculars or their camera, they could see it and be like, oh, okay, it's somebody's bird, or call you, or whatever. I hacked my tearcel in my yard. And that's the other thing. When you first hack your bird, like, you think your bird's going to it's going to be freaking like up in the wind, like, soaring. And dude, they just sit like literally in like the same branch all day long and like don't move for like the first week of hack.
Right.
Like,
I was surprised by how little they move. And she acted so hungry that I started the day off eventually with a mouse. I'd give her a mouse. So she wasn't very desperate that day.
Yeah.
It was just enough to make her excited to see me and come get food from me. But, she had a little bit of something in her stomach, so she wasn't going to do anything really stupid.
Yes.
That's always a concern.
Yes. And Sladen talked about it with the tearcels that he's done, and I've noticed it with the tearcels I've raised, that you almost like always have to give them something in the morning, because they just burn through so much, just different metabolism, that they will burn through it and get a little bit too curious or whatever. But it's a balance, and it may cost you. It may cost you the bird sleeping out. It may cost you chasing the bird around. That Betsy bird, I fed her one quail egg in the morning. The hack was still in my yard at that point. I didn't transition to another location yet, because, like I said, they just don't leave for a while. So I was, she was fine, and like she would literally just be on the fence post. I'd be at work. My wife would send me a picture of her just like on the fence post, like in the shade, and then the sun would move and then like land on the fence, and then like she would like move into the shade on the same fence line, like to get out of the shade. Like she wasn't really going anywhere. And then she would start to go out a little bit further. I'd see her across on the property of my neighbors, like in the back, and I'd see her on the GPS back there. And I'm like, all right, I still got 2 hours for, till dark. And then it was nice because I could cut a baggie loose or set up a carcass drag, and she would be all the way back in the woods. But I knew she was like, 150 yards away, could clearly hear me if I yelled. So I would yell, ho, 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 ah, this and that. And like, oh, and I would start pulling vines and stuff. And then like, you would hear her like, rah, 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 like screaming back there. Like, and then she would fly into position. And right when I had line of sight with her, I would like be 50, 60 feet away from the rabbit carcass. And I would pull the string and start, or I'd have my son drag it and run. And like, so the rabbit's just kind of like there. And then she would come from 60 yards away, like over the trees, and drop in and nail it, and it was a great way to get her back from hack. It was like super low effort. But the one day that I screwed up was I was like trying to be like, Mr. I'm going to get her used to everything. I thought it'd be a good idea to start the lawnmower when she was sitting in the backyard.
I'm going to get her used to owls.
Yeah, I'm going to get her used to great horned owls tonight. She's going to learn about predatory behavior tonight. And I drove the lawn, North American, of course. I drove the lawnmower around, and she did not like it. And I did that a couple times. She didn't like it and she would fly off. I'd see her. She'd go like 50 or 100 yards back into the woods. Then I drive it around. I turn it off. Then she'd come back and check us out. And then we do a carcass drag, a baggie, whatever. And then that night she kind of like blew off. That just so happened to be the morning I gave her the quail leg. And then it was just a shit show. And it was me creeping around my neighbor's yard, running back home, getting a chucker, then running back home, getting a rabbit, then running back home and filling my bag with carcasses and freaking like World's Strongest Man with the keg toss, launching carcasses up into the air, into the trees. And she would like...
Anybody who's been in the field with you knows that you got a good arm on you.
Yeah. And I was like, and I was trying not to hit her with it either. And then it literally just ended up with me just like under the tree in the pitch black with her dumbass just sitting up there with this blank look on her face. When your goshawk is ready to roost, they get like the look like of your wife, like when you're like asking her a question, like where your freaking shoes are, or your boots, or your tape measure, and they just the eyes glaze over, and there's like nothing there, and then you're like, oh no,
oh no, I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble. She has no idea where she. Dude, I ordered a brand new headlamp, like an $80 headlamp. My wife opened it, looked at it, and then lost it. It's gone. My house is 1,000 square feet. It's gone. Where did it go? Whatever. She even admits she has no idea where it went. And the bird, the eyes glaze over, and then it's like, oh no, you're done. Your bird's sleeping out now. And I saw that stupid look on her face, and I sat under there with the headlamp. I was under there. Then I'd go home. Then I'd sneak back. It was like right behind my neighbor's house, and hopefully they're not listening. But and then I would go back, and I went back probably like 4 times that night. And even in the morning, she didn't want to come down. I was getting ready. I was gearing up for an RFK event with Tom, so I had some pheasants and chucker on hand, and I was freaking launching them. While my neighbor's like going in her car to go to work, and I'm like hiding like a creep, and I'm like, and I'm like, they don't care, lady. She's super nice. Like she probably wouldn't even care, but it's like, I'm like, I don't want to explain, whatever. And, I'm freaking throwing this freaking fucker out under a female goshawk. And she was like bobbing it. And then she'd come down and like check off and fly it through the woods. And then I'd like roll up the freaking string. And I'm like, dude, one quail leg, dude. And then that's when you start realizing like, okay, like this bird, does not need to come down and wait, but the hunger needs to be increased. So now it's you're going to stretch the period out. So if the bird's eating every 24 hours on the dot, now you can stretch it out a little bit further or feed just slightly less just to put an edge on it. You're not like, I'm taking her down 17 grams today. It's like, no, you just like, I mean, listen, if you want to be like that, it's fine. You can be like that. But if you just watch the way your bird's acting, you'll just be like, okay, I fed her one entire quail chopped up. I will now remove one back leg from that feeding, and there'll be an edge on her tomorrow. You know what I mean? You could just do it like that. Or if you have the time, do whatever exercise you were going to do. And if you don't like the way she was acting or whatever, just don't feed her full meal, or don't feed her at all if you can get away with it. And then just do the same exact exercise you wanted to do that afternoon. Do it first thing in the morning as soon as the sun comes up. And now she's amped. She has no association with you because you didn't take any food from her. She just didn't perform or didn't do what she needed to do. And then she'll easily perform that same activity because now she has an edge on her. And then she'll get a giant reward for that. And then it just puts 2 and 2 together with the bird like, okay. And this is what's going to happen in the wild. They're going to lazily chase around some birds or, a squirrel in a tree. And then they're going to sit up in a tree and, stare at it without chasing it. And then the sun's going to go down. And in the morning, they're going to be like, I should have killed that thing, or they'll see something else. And then they'll put like a lot of effort towards it and catch it and get a nice big meal. And then it's kind of like they learn. They don't learn through like their weight coming down. They just learn through the increase of hunger. And yeah, the weight is probably going to correlate with that. But your bird could be heavier with a 30-hour window or 36-hour window. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. Like you could give your bird 2 full quail to eat on Monday, don't do anything with her on Tuesday, and she's actually heavier on Wednesday morning than she was the day she didn't do what you wanted her to do, but she's extra hungry, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So the weight's not actually coming down. You just extended the hunger period, and the bird could actually be higher in weight, but hungrier, if that makes sense. So that's the goal, is always try to do the hunger first before bringing the weight down.
Well, it's like the bird could be very low in weight, and you give it some food and let it pass over the crop into the stomach, and the bird's going to be less responsive.
Exactly.
Even though she's low in weight.
Exactly.
It's about the hunger, not about the weight.
So you empty them out. So you let them empty out, and that's how I fly multiple goshawks. Is I hunt with one on Monday, give it a giant big crop after it catches something, hopefully, or if it performed well, whatever. Or I'd always just give it a nice big crop at the end of a hunt, and I'm not flying the next day, so that bird's going to empty out on Tuesday while I'm flying the other bird, and then on Wednesday that other bird's back down to where it needs to be. It's empty. It's empty. It's heavy. It's fit. Now on Wednesday, Wednesday at 12 o'clock on my lunch break, now we're going to go catch squirrels with that bird. It's very, but some guys like to hunt every day, but I just think when you hunt every day, you have to limit how much you're feeding the bird.
Mm-hmm.
Or if your bird's super fit, then you could do it. But,
so you talked about dragging and carcasses and things like that. All along the way, you need to be doing that, even when your bird is just like running around in the house, can't fly.
Yeah, you don't need to. I know, like a buddy of mine, I'm not going to put him on the spot, but he doesn't like doing that. He thinks that it makes the bird think it can fly like crap and still get like a reward because it doesn't try, and it's still like, and the thing's not moving.
The way that I see it is that it's the parents do that. They hobble animals and bring them back, and the birds are chasing, hobbled animals around.
Yeah. It's a fact.
And they need to know how to kill things.
Correct.
And they need to know that before they're like flying them down at 50 miles an hour. Yeah.
Like you'll have a big female goshawk, and the first time, if you don't do any carcass feedings or carcass drags, the first time you put a rabbit on the ground, a dead rabbit on a string,
they're scared of it.
They're freaking terrified of it. They don't even want to touch it. Yeah. So it's like there is, and then you think like you're not going to do any of that, and then all of a sudden you're going to show it wild rabbits, and it's just going to like fly one down and catch it. Like it's going to take 80 slips to get that bird to actually get the confidence to put its feet on it.
Right.
But it's going to get all its food from your lure. What does that tell the bird? This is just my personal thought process. What does that tell the bird? It tells the bird it can kind of follow after a rabbit, and then it's going to get a huge reward on the freaking brown thing that you swing around in the air. So that's putting the incentive on the brown thing. I'd rather put the incentive on the furry thing.
I like the lure as an insurance policy, personally.
Yes. You have to have a lure. You got to have a lure.
I really like it as an insurance policy, but you do have to be careful with what you reward, because if the bird puts in low effort, and on the other hand too, you don't want to starve the bird, but it's a very fine line to walk. And that's why I have trouble teaching falconry, because it's something that you just have to feel. You can't, I can't really describe to you what you need to do in that situation. You just need to feel it out.
Yeah, it's true. I think if somebody called you and they're like, my bird's doing this, and like, okay, how much did you feed her yesterday? Oh, I fed her a whole quail yesterday. Okay, well, get her down somehow and try again first thing in the morning. Do the same.
Let's talk about that too. Now that you mention it, that was kind of a new concept that you guys taught to me years ago up in Jersey. Was the food you feed them matters too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
You could feed your bird. You could crop your bird up on rabbit, and they're going to burn through that rabbit very quickly and be more motivated to catch and kill, versus a bird cropped up on quail or given a quail leg. Quail is very heavy, and they process it slowly. It's a very rich food.
It's a completely, it's not even a theory. It's like a direct fact. It's like, if you're duck hawking and you're giving your bird a full crop of duck breast, like your bird can be at the exact same weight in the next day or 2 days, but it will 1000%, it will fly completely different than if it was at the same weight, only it was cropped up on rabbit or something leaner. And
Yeah.
I don't feed any quail or any duck or muskrat or anything like that during the hawking season, unless once it starts getting wicked cold, and my bird's putting out a lot of effort chasing and we're hunting a lot. And I'm noticing that, okay, this bird's like, she's getting a giant crop of rabbit and she's right back down to weight the next day, or at least within like low enough where I would still fly her, like she's not at weight, but I would fly her anyway. Then I'll make a mental note like, okay, throw a quail in the bag today. Cause after she puts out a lot of effort today, I'm going to give her she's going to get a full crop of rabbit and quail just to add in a little bit more calories and a little bit, different, the way their body metabolizes it helps. But if you're like going out hawking and it's hot out and you're like ending every training session with like a full crop of quail, I'm not talking during the hack or like I'm talking like when you're out, like when you're hunting, like your bird is like chasing game and stuff like that. And like you're entering and like you're noticing the birds, like she just won't really she doesn't seem like she really cares that much. That's going to, another thing, like you said, Aaron, that's a by feel thing. And you could feel that at any point during that time, and to know when to deal with it. That's why it's always better to just stretch the hunger out rather than doing anything with the weight. Because if your bird, on average for me, and I did like a mini survey, on average for your bird to catch its first rabbit or its first squirrel or its first duck, on average, the number is like roughly 50 to 75.
Days old? What?
50 to 75 wild slips before it catches.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So if you put that into perspective, that's for some people, if you're out west, that's before lunchtime. You get that many slips.
Yeah. Your first day in the field.
Your flip flops and your sneakers or whatever. But it does take that long. Some birds, like the North American, like we talked about earlier, the North American, a little bit more on edge, a little bit more harder to deal with. I would cut that estimate down in half almost for North American. Like literally, like I never saw my North American female chase a squirrel with me. We were always going after rabbits with the dogs. And the first time I saw her engaging with a squirrel was the first one she caught, and it was by the head. But I did do a hack on her, so she probably was interacting with them a lot. But I could not believe that she caught her first squirrel. And it was the first squirrel chase that we had after like the hack was over and we were starting to hunt. Meanwhile, Karen, the big 50-50 European bird, like she didn't catch her first squirrel. She must have chased 100 squirrels, at least 100 squirrels. That I kind of dragged out a little bit too long. That I kind of I didn't really stretch the hunger out. I didn't really decrease any of the weight. She caught her first rabbit November 15th or first squirrel November 15th. She caught a rabbit in September. But the squirrels, for whatever reason, she took way longer to catch. But once she caught them, then she kind of almost preferred them.
It's funny that hawks really, if they're capable of catching squirrels, they really seem to like catching squirrels.
Like they can't help themselves.
Yeah, it's even like Harris hawks. Good luck getting them off of squirrels once you run into squirrels.
Yeah, squirrels are tempting.
So I think that's about all I have for imprinting. I'm by no means an expert. I've done it a handful of times. But I think it's useful for all of us to talk about it and to think about it again as we do it again. Because the next one I imprint, I promise you, I'm going to be asking my friends questions. Now, remind me what we do when this happens. Remind me how you get the bird on the glove for the first time.
Yeah, because that can take a while. Some birds do not like the glove.
Yeah.
And not to go back to the beginning, but just like you don't pick your bird up with the hand, if you start forcing your bird to stand on the glove, oof, you're gonna have a bit. Now you're gonna get a bird that just does not want to be on your glove. So you have to plan that out too.
Yeah,
you don't want to force anything.
Don't rush that.
No, that's another thing. Yeah, don't force the glove situation.
I mean, honestly, there's so many things in falconry that we have expectations that they're gonna do this. Like your bird is gonna be on the glove. Your bird comes to food on the glove. that's what we expect, but you can't expect that out of certain species of birds.
I mean, you can expect it out of, a passage bird or a chamber bird,
but
because you're starting off the training like from a curriculum that you are in full control.
Sure,
with an imprint.
That's some birds, not all birds, though.
Correct. No, correct. But I'm saying the imprinting thing, you're removing all the fear, and then there's like a level of trust that you're instilling with the bird. And if I never really hooded any of my imprints, because the risk of causing an issue or fear by forcing the hood on the bird or something like that, I just figured the risk of hooding this bird could undermine like the trust that we built, or there's no fear of my hand. And all of a sudden, every time she sees me reach my hand around, she thinks the lure's coming out, and now she's going to get all weird about it. So I just elected to not hood my imprints. But this last bird, which wasn't really an imprint, the hood was like the key to our success. It's what sealed him into the routine, was the hood. Without the hood, I don't even think we would have gotten anywhere at all. Mm-hmm. The hood is what allowed him to stay calm and reset his brain. And he wasn't free lofted anymore and rewilding. He was essentially rewilding every day while I was at work. And when I would go in there to work with him, I was basically starting from scratch every day. And then when I finally got the hood on him, the next day when I took the hood off of him, it was like, he's like, "Whoa, where's the food? Where's the food? Where's the food?" And I'm like, "Oh, there it is. Go get it." And he flies out and grabs the carcass. And I'm like,
up right where you left off.
Yeah, he didn't have any time to like spaz out again. And then and then Paul's like, "Oh yeah, your passage bird. I mean, they'll be wild again in 12 hours if you leave them loose in a chamber. You got to get them calm. They got to be, And I'm like, "Oh well, thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
appreciate you,
Paul. You could have told me that in August rather than like October when and then I got the hood on the bird's head, and it was like literally like the training just like progressed like
I'm sure he claims he told you that, right? I told you that.
I told you, you just weren't listening. But that was the key. So the hood was like the key to that bird's success. But like, if you force the hood with your imprint, like now the key is going to undermine everything that you did.
Yeah.
Now the bird's not going to be on the glove, because the glove's where the hood gets put on the head. If you're good at hooding, like that's the problem. Is like, I'm just not good. I'm not that good at hooding. I shouldn't say that. I'm pretty good. But
I was wondering if you were going to be able to stand saying you're not good at hooding.
No, I'm not like, I'm not like Layman or some of these other guys that like, with the tidbits, and they like, they're like that friggin' nerd in school that can do the pen thing with between his fingers, and it like, the friggin' dork.
I'm like, sitting here with a bully stick doing it.
Yeah, doing the little,
not really doing it.
You know what I mean? Like some guys are like that with the hood, where they're just like they're like autistic with it. Like they're so good at hooding.
You would think you would be good at it then.
I am. Yeah. I'm autistic in like smash my head through a sheetrock wall because my wife moved the couch 3 feet to the left.
That's like Casey's house is covered with pictures in the weirdest places. You're like, why do you have this picture here? And if you moved it to the side, you'd see a fist hole in the wall.
Perfect imprintable fist in the wall. A lie. But no, it's like, yeah, like I'm not that good with hooding. I'd love to get really good with hooding. But I don't trust myself to start trying to hood an imprint, because I noticed that I've tried.
You can hood all you want. It's not going to make your weenie any bigger. Okay.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. Stick to what I know. Yeah. Just come to grips with it.
This is an infinite subject, but we thought we could touch on it. Well, I thought we could touch on it.
Yeah, I had no idea. So sorry, everybody, because the conversation was a little disjointed. But if you just listen to the conversation, same like when I'm talking to Steve, like on the phone, and like listen to the guys that fly Goshawks talking, just because they're not giving you like, 1-for-1 advice on what to do, you're listening to the way they're analyzing and the way they talk about it. And hopefully that can help you like change the way that you think about it.
Yeah. Make decisions based on like a behavioral standpoint, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Think about, when your bird is freaking out about food, ask yourself if it would be a good idea to reinforce that right now with what it wants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, with all the gentle parenting we have nowadays, I mean, it's the same thing you would say to a parent. If your son's going crazy and having a temper tantrum, is that when you should give him the lollipop? And a lot of these people nowadays, I guess, would say, well, yes, because he really wants it. So like you would think it would be common sense to not give your bird food if it's, latched onto your hand or whatever. And it's, you wouldn't want to do that. So if your bird's freaking out, screaming, acting crazy, if you immediately like, oh, here's your food, then like the bird's just going to be like, oh, like this is what I do to get food now. I'm just going to, all right, he took too long. Now I'm going to attack him now. Oh, here's your food. And then now you have a bird that's like trying to like literally like kill you to get food from you.
I think one thing that I try and do is I don't give the bird the opportunity to misbehave.
Yeah, he smacks him across the face early. That's the tone.
If your bird is going to attack you at a certain stage of the hack, if it's going to do the Dracula walk and attack your feet, don't put yourself in that situation to where the bird is going to do that. So
don't let it get to that point.
Yeah.
And their bodies are also training themselves. They're the same way that we have muscle memory and that we are like creatures of habit. Goshawks are exactly the same way. And that was something that opened up my eyes when Phil told me that. And I had that Karen bird that would literally shoot off, the squirrel or rabbit carcass 10 feet. I'm 10 feet away. I'm away, maybe a little too close for her. And she never would, do the Dracula walk or anything like that, like a North American or like some of the other birds. She would literally just go from the ground 10 feet at an angle straight to my face. And I would freaking bob and weave like Tyson getting out of the way of that. And Phil and a couple other guys, helped me with some advice. And it was like, just stay away from her, trade her off from a distance, leave her alone.
Yeah. Don't give her the opportunity to do that.
And I'm like, well, like when I have to go in, she's still going to do it. And they're like, you're not understanding. She's getting into a routine. And if you persist with this, she's going to get into the routine that every time you get near her, she leaves and attacks you. And that's going to be her muscle memory to leave and attack you. If she catches something and you leave her alone, she'll get in the routine of catch, get it under control, pluck, 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 settle in, tuck her wings and sit there and eat. And then you can trade her off from a distance. And then later you could make in because now her body she's in a muscle memory that she catches, settles in, relaxes. And then when she's calm, she steps off. And I'm like,
exactly.
I never thought that was a thing. I'm like, oh, but like eventually I'm going to have to like go near her. And they're like, no, like you're training her to leave and attack you. And every time you do it, she's going to keep leaving and attacking you. If you just let her sit there and leave her alone and try to like use a lure on a long string and throw it out there and drag it and let her like kind of go from one to the next and like finally settle into the lure, then you could walk around when she's calm and pick up the squirrel, put it in your bag. And then like she got a lot calmer and like the whole aggression thing, like it literally just completely went away. The second season, she was like completely like she did one little thing early on in like September. And then after that, like she never went after me like that ever again.
I think it's important with young birds to know that they literally go through phases and stages.
Yeah.
And that this behavior that you see now, which might be awesome, might be great behavior, isn't necessarily going to always be that way. Like the honeymoon stage, So,
oh yeah, I love that, and not trying to be like a complete asshole about it, but I love seeing like these people that like they get a goshawk and it's like it's in like the jumping around the house phase, looking at him upside down, and they're like. I'm making the stupidest face right now that you can't see, but they post it like it's a flex. They're like, oh yeah, look what I did with my bird. And I'm like, bro, literally every imprint goshawk on the face of planet Earth acts like that at that stage. Huh? Now let's see if you can work your magic during the dispersal phase, during this phase, during that phase. Cause that's when that's when it starts coming down to the wire where like, are you going to like, power through this? Are you going to make the right decision? Are you not going to force things? Are you going to be delicate? Because when your bird's jumping around fat as a pig, looking at you upside down, that's just every single goshawk on the face of the earth at that stage. That's not a flex whatsoever. They all act the exact same. They all do that. You're not special. I'm not special. Aaron's not. No one's special. They go through the same phases. It's how you manage the phases that really shows what you can do. And I'm not saying I know how to manage a phase. I'm just saying I'm just saying I'm a hater, basically. No.
I'm going to end my remarks by saying I don't think that imprinting a bird is very hard, is that challenging. You just got to go into it with the thought process and be willing to work. Otherwise, we're not working magic. It's been done a million times before by a million different people, and you can do it as well.
You can do it, and it's a direct correlation. Your bird is an imprint for sure. For me, 100% is a direct correlation with how much effort you put into it. 100 million %. If you put a lot of effort into it, if you're paying attention to detail, if you're calling people, getting advice, implementing the advice, having a little bit of like discretion and watching the behavior, and you like live it and breathe it, especially that first season, you're going to make a great bird. And then the great bird is just going to become a killing machine robot for the rest of its life. You have to commit that first
short
season.
Life.
It's going to be a short life for sure. Yeah.
All right, folks. We appreciate you guys listening. Remember, subscribe to YouTube. If you're in the need for some merch, check out sportingchancepod.com, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.